Okay. The first thing we want to talk about is to say a story. That became already my minhag to start saying a story. Because more people like stories. Everybody wants pashut. People are not so interested in sight. But to say the story, just to say a story, I like to say a story about a nace. Everybody wants inspirational stories. So I'll say a story. There was a yid who used to learn in yeshiva. And unfortunately, he went on his own way. He went off the derech. And he was gone for like 5-6 years. And Metamol, one day, this Rosh Yeshiva comes outside and he sees that there's somebody on a motorcycle with the whole gear and everything else, and he's sitting in the yeshiva parking lot on his motorcycle. So he didn't know who, why, when, was somebody on a motorcycle in the yeshiva parking lot. So Rosh Yeshiva went over to the guy and he said, like, who are you? Why are you here? And then he saw that the guy was his talmid in the yeshiva 6 years ago, and he knew everybody was miyayish from the guy, and now he came back. So he says, so why did you come back? What do you want? He says, I've been working, and I made a lot of money, but I never gave maisa, and I want to give my maisa money. So I'm here to give to Rosh Yeshiva, I want to give maisa money, because you guys were good to me, and he was very warm to the guy, like he didn't try to turn him off and say, where were you, and everything else. He was very warm, he was makabel panim and everything else like that. Mela, he gave him his check, and he was so happy that he gave the check, and Rishiv accepted it, and save upon him yafis, regardless of how much the amount was. But basically, the story is that he accepted it. Next day, they see on the news that somebody riding on the motorcycle was in a gefährliche accident. The person wasn't killed, but he was like injured very badly. So then Rosh Yeshiva found out who it was. So he went to the hospital, and he sees this guy, and the guy is crying b'simcha rabbah. What's the pshat? So the guy came over and said, you should know, Rebbe, I wasn't so good all the years, but it burned in me to give this thing, to give the tzedakah. He says, and I see it was Mekuyim the pasuk of tzedakah tatzil mimabes, because I came back, and yesterday I came to you special to give you the tzedakah. So there's a gzeira, I should be in an accident, whether I'll survive or not survive. The tzedakah was tatzil mimaves. So he was saying his akaras hatoiv that the tzedakah was tatzil mimaves because he went special to give his Rosh Yeshiva his maisa money, even though he wasn't keeping too many other mitzvahs. So he kept that, and that saved him. And after that, he was makabel on himself to go al derech haTorah. That's the story. Question is the story a nace, or is it not a nace? I always like to say that. So, you know that Purim was a nace al piteva, and Hanukkah was not a nace al piteva. So what are we celebrating on Hanukkah? That there was a miracle. I said it last week also, I was meramis to it. You make the wicks thinner, it lasts a long time. Celebration of Hanukkah is be'etzem, like you have Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why are we celebrating Yetzias Mitzrayim? Because Yetzias Mitzrayim was an ace galoi, and in order that we should be in the same madrega that when we left Mitzrayim, Tinek Shenoilad, because that was the Leda of Klal Yisrael by Yetzias Mitzrayim, so we should be in a similar matzav. And just like Klal Yisrael was zoichet to have an ace galoi and Chanukah, we should also be in a matzav that we should be zoichet to be mekabel an ace galoi. Therefore, we make a shevach v'haidol Rabbeinu Shalom. We say thank you so much, and by us appreciating yen and neis, ulai will be zeicha to something like that. So I just want to take it a little bit further. We know that somebody who's mazir b'neir is avayin lo'ibonim talmidei chachamim. Somebody asked me, like, what's the pshat? What does one have to do with the other? I'm saying a few things that'll hopefully eventually connect. So we know that the kavana, everybody learned the kavana of lahadlik ner Chanukah is a Rosh Tevis Nachal, right? So we know that Nachal has a few different Rosh Tevis. One is Noitzah Chesed La'alofim, that's Negei Zois Chanukah, because you start from Tikkun Ches and Zois Chanukah and includes all the others, which is the big skula of Zois Chanukah. That's why it's considered a Eis Ratzon, is considered a Eis Bracha. But more so, it's also the Rashi Tevis of Nafshenu Chiksel Hashem. What's Nafshenu Chiksel Hashem? It's brought down all over. I don't remember specifically. But that's, you say it every day in Haidu. You say Nafshenu Chikzal Hashem, right? So Nafshenu Chikzal Hashem, what does it mean? That my nefesh is wanting to get closer to the Rabbeinu Shalom. I don't know exact taich, but more or less along those lines. So if a person is Nizhar B'Ner, Lahadlik Ner, Chanukah, right? So is Havayla ben Talmidei Chachamim. Why? Because he's going on the madrega of getting much closer of Nafshenu Chikzal Hashem. So with that schus, he'll show his children how much he's appreciating all the taivas and everything else that Rabbeinu Shalom is doing for us, for him. So then they'll see it. So then it's like Pashat, they'll become Talmidei Chachamim. If you know the famous story with Rav Moshe, that some people had children who were Talmidei Chachamim, some people had children who weren't Talmidei Chachamim. What was the pshat? That the ones who went home and they couldn't work Shabbos, and they came home and said, "Oh, schwer zu sein a Yid," their kids went off. And the one who said, Geschmack zu sein a Yid, Baruch Hashem, I was Meister Nevesh to give up my job for Shabbos, those had Havayin Bonim Talmidei Chachamim. So, along the same lines. Now, I just wanted to add a few other drush, that we know that Nes, what's the gematria of Nes? You learned it in the Kavanas. Nes is 110, right? Now, which ice represents Nes? Ice Aleph. Why? Because ice Aleph backwards is Pella. What's a Pella? It's Shinim and Ateva, is Nes. So if you take the Nes and you add the Aleph to it, is 111. Ima Koilel is Yaboik. What is Yaboik? Yaboik is Havaya Elikim. It's also Havaya Eke Adnos. And that's what we learned in Chanukah is, you have all the Yichudim. You have the three Yichudim of Ner, Havaya Eke, Havaya Eke, Havaya Elikim, and Havaya Adnos. So that all is Merumas in Nes Chanukah. So that's another thing. Why is there a Nes? Because you had all those Yichudim coming together in the same time, so Mamela creates this tremendous Shefa. Just to go a little bit further, that the menorah itself is Bina. Because this is brought down already, because the menorah had, what's below Bina is Sheva Tachtonos. What's the menorah is representing the Sheva Spheres Tachtonos. And then, which is also the Shiva Neiros. What's above that is Chachma. We know that it's Haragel b'Shemen Zayis, Machkim. Right? So you see that Shemen is Keneged Chachma. There's a bunch of other rayas, I forgot what they all are exactly. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Metoch Sheregilim b'Shemen Zayis, Chachma Mitzuya Behen. That's a Gemara. So you see that Shemen is Keneged Chachma. And where does Keser fit in? So Keser fits in because you see in the Oir, as you know, Oir Ein Sof, right, which is Daimel Keser. So why is that Keser? Because you see, if you look at a Ner, what's Ner doing? The Ner has almost Nafshenu Chikzal Hashem. The Ner is jumping up to go to the Rabbeinu Shalom. What's holding him back? Psila, right? Not Lashon Psilas, because that's with the Samach and that's with the Taf. But the Psila holds him back, right? So really he wants to jump up and go. So you see that in the menorah is Meruma's all the spheres. In the Nukva, which is kind of, as you know, what's the word of Chanukah? That Bina goes directly to the Keva without going through the Baal, right? That's the Maila of Chanukah and Purim. So you see that the entire, if we're going over here, is from Bina directly to Nekeva. And Zois, Chanukah, what's Zois? We all know that Zois is Nekeva, which is over here is the Malchus. So the Ikadei of, because on the other days you're going through the other spheres, right? But on the Zois Chanukah, you're going directly to Malchus. And that's why you have a complete Yichud on Zois Chanukah, because you have from the Bina directly to the Nekeva, which is the Malchus, and therefore that's a Zman for everybody to daven, and Al Tefillah should be Mekuyim. Now just, there's a pasuk that says, Koyel Haneshama Tahalel Ka, and that's Meramis to the whole Chanukah. V'yazoi, Kol, as we know, is Nun Share Bina, right? And we're talking about Bina going directly to the Nukva. Neshama, we know that neshama, what's neshama is kigacheles, shalheves begacheles, is that's the remez of neshama to the guf. Right? So kol haneshama, so this neshama, which is represented by a eish, by a ner, so that's included there. And the Tita Hallel is that since it's an Eis Goli, we have 8 days of Hallel, and the Ka is the Gimel Rishonim, because all the Gimel Rishonim is Merumas and Shem Yud Kei. So that is just showing you that the whole Nes, Chanukah, the Havodah of Chanukah is to be makir, first of all the Nes, and that all the spheres, all 10 spheres work themselves into Chanukah, right? Really, it should be the Olam HaTeva is 7. We only deal with Shevet Hachtonis. We don't deal with the Gimel Rishonim. So since we had something that was Shaloi Kederech HaTeva, L'mayla Min HaTeva, so therefore it's Ches Yimei Chanukah, which is L'mayla Min HaTeva. On that note, I wanted to say that first of all, this, since it's Hamshachas Or, that's what Chanukah is. We want to be Mamshech the Or Haganuz. Where's Or Haganuz? Or Haganuz, as I'm assuming everybody knows, comes from Shem Sag, which is in Bina, because Chochma and Keser and Chochma we don't really have a Shaykhas to. So Or Haganuz, this with Tzadikim, Yoshvin, Vatrisayim, V'Rashayim, V'Nenim, V'Ziv Ashchina, is part of it is the Or Haganuz. The Or Haganuz is, from what it's brought down, is that Talmidei Chachamim sitting and learning Said a whole day. So we only have it night Seder, so it's a Me'ein Olam Haba. But I say, people ask me, what's Olam Haba about? I said, go to BMG, sit there first, say that's Olam Haba. What could be better? Maybe a little more comfortable chair, upper garnished. That's where it's at. On that note, I want to wish everybody a Freilich and Chanukah.